Hi, everybody. We are super excited. It is the 11th of April, and tonight's topic is led by my accountability buddy and dear friend, Coach Rab. Take us away on this exciting topic.
This exciting topic. This is such a broad topic, and it can mean so many things. And I have to tell you guys all that I really...
I didn't say what it was. I waited for you to say
it. Tonight's topic is about accountability. Tonight's topic is about accountability. And we can really approach accountability from many different angles. And I thought about really how to approach it with you guys tonight, because we touch on it in every call and in constantly throughout our group. And what is Lily put that in the chat. Answer away. What is accountability to you? Because it can really mean so many different things. So I want you to put that in, but I'm going to start with this. This was really such an important topic, and there's so much to cover, but I also want to leave time for people to ask questions. So I'm going to have some times where I'm looking down at my notes because it was really a bunch of things I did not want in there. Okay, so let's start with this. The topic of the call is accountability. How do we define accountability? Okay, meaning like Webster Dictionary, right? Accountability. Accountability is an obligation or willingness to accept responsibility for one's actions. Okay? That is accountability. We are going to differentiate also between accountability and an accountability partner. Because what's then an accountability partner? If accountability is your willingness to accept responsibility for your own actions, that takes a lot of honesty with yourself also, right? We've all gone through life thinking we can blame or find some kind of excuse. And when you are willing to accept the responsibility for your actions, which means you're willing to also accept the consequences. Okay, consequence is not necessarily a negative word. It's just a cause and effect, right? Has anybody ever seen the meme? I think it's something about basically your body is the best proof, or accountability for what you ate. Doesn't matter what you wrote down, right? So we have to be honest about how we feel. Tracking keeps us honest if we track honestly, okay? So accountability, again, is accepting responsibility for our actions and therefore accepting the results, the consequences, the effects of our choices. An accountability partner can be a person who helps you or somebody who helps somebody else keep to a commitment. Because that is really what we're trying to do here. What we're trying to do here is to stay committed to something that we said, that we thought, that we wanted to embrace long after the first time we said it, right? Very often we commit to something or we want to accomplish something. We want to get somewhere. Very often coming from a place of pain or a pivotal moment or an aha moment, whatever it is, that's when we made the decision. That thing that made you pick up the phone or reach out to your who is now your coach, send that message, ask a friend, make a decision that you want to change, but being able to stick with it long after that moment of spark, that is really where accountability comes in. So a few things that I want to discuss in terms of characteristics of accountability, so that in order that we can then find an accountability partner or find how we want to stay accountable, even just for ourselves, because that's first and foremost. Accountability partners are amazing, but you need to also be accountable to yourself first and foremost. So some characteristics of accountability. Accountability cannot be delegated. What does that mean? Again, like we go back to the definition, that means you are responsible for you. It's not about blaming. It's not about a circumstance. Believe me, I do not think God is very happy when we curse him out for all our holidays and Shabbos every week, or family events, or so many other things that we, in a way, they can be reasons, but it's really then not accepting responsibility for our own actions. You are blaming the circumstance as opposed to accepting things upon yourself. Okay, so instead of blaming, we accept with honesty that we are in control of certain aspects, especially the food we put into our mouth. That's the whole idea when we talk about controlling the controllable. And therefore, we take responsibility, no matter which direction it goes in, for the consequences of our actions are on us. They're not on God. They're not on our child who just had a tantrum. They're not on our spouse or friend who just pissed us off, or a parent. Okay, none of that. 2, what's another characteristic about accountability? Accountability cannot be reduced. What does that mean? Can you think about it? Accountability cannot be reduced. Even if you have an accountability partner, which is so important, right? Or you ask somebody who's sitting at the table with you when you're out to dinner, make sure I don't touch the fries, if that's what you want. If you decided that you're not going to have them and you ask somebody to do that, all that's fine, but it doesn't reduce your own accountability to yourself, okay? First and foremost, you are accountable to yourself, right? Have you all heard, we've heard different trainers or different people say, like, let's say you decide to cut a workout out early or eat something that maybe wasn't what you wanted to earlier. You're not cheating anybody else, right? And cheat is a terrible word. I always love it when Alana talks about cheat. Cheat is never meant in a good way, right? That's why she says treat, not cheat. Cheat is you cheat on your taxes, you cheat on a spouse, you cheat on a test. Nothing good comes out of cheating, okay? So we definitely don't want to be cheating ourselves. We want to be honest with ourselves. So you cannot reduce your own accountability to yourself. What are accountability standards, okay? Characteristic number 4, are we up to 4? 3. Characteristic number 3, accountability standards. When you find or even are looking for an accountability partner, right? You have to clearly define for yourself first, and also with each other, not only your needs, but also what the other person expects and how you can fulfill somebody else's needs, right? A good relationship is not just a take, it's also a give. We get so much more out of giving. We learn even so much more about ourselves. That's why accountability partners are so important, because you figure out what you need and how also how you can help somebody, right? Have you all read different things about happiness and joy? We get so much happiness from helping somebody else. So being in this with somebody else, having accountability, whether it's one specific person or using our accountability group, okay? Set those standards for yourself. Set them for yourself, what you expect of yourself, what you expect to get out of this, while also managing expectations, and realize that it's a give and take. You can't just take, but you also have to give. Now,
I think it's also important.
What?
I think it's also important when going in. I think it's also important to know your limitations, meaning it's a give and take, but you have to know your capabilities of what you're able to give to the other person. And if you're not, you won't be a good accountability partner to that person.
100%, which is why it's also about managing expectations both ways. When you are looking for an accountability partner, being aware of what you're able to give, what you're able to offer, and then therefore finding a match with somebody who is on that kind of level. You're not going to, if you can say, well, I'm not the kind of person that's going to be, writing to you, X amount of times a day, but I need and I want and I can offer once a week kind of check-ins or this or whatever. Again, these are all
right.
important.
I think that's the gut check moment of saying, I might want to be that person's, that's another honesty moment. You have to be honest about what you're eating. You have to be honest, but you also have to be honest. Can I really be an accountability partner? I'm not, you know what? I'm not going to be hard on them. They want someone who's going to call them to the carpet or kick their butt when they need it. I'm not so, you know, like that's the kind of thing that you have to say to yourself. Or you could be like me and say, okay, you know, put up or shut up kind of thing. Let's get real. Time to really get down to business. It depends who you are.
I think the beauty of that also is that we also so often underestimate ourselves when we're scared about doing something new, and we get very worried about being an accountability partner. Oh, is this person going to depend on me too much? And we underestimate ourselves of how much we can actually have to offer, you know, another person. And I think everybody here has something to offer somebody else, and we all have something to learn from, you know, from another person. Which brings me to the last characteristic that I want to discuss, which is the extent of accountability. Okay, and this very much ties in what Yoni was saying. The extent of accountability. Where does compassion and support, you know, what's that fine line between that and accountability, or, you know, being a little bit, you know, harder and honest with somebody else? It's a very fine line between empathy. I say this all the time. I very often ask my challengers or even my friends, what do you need right now? A hug or a kick in the butt? It's not one or the other always. You can't necessarily say to yourself, I'm the kind of person that always needs a gentle hand. I mean, maybe you are. That is very possible, and maybe that's not just me. But even somebody like me who really always does like the kick in the butt, you can ask Lily, sometimes I don't want to hear it. Sometimes I don't want the kick in the butt, even though I claim to always want it, you know? And you really need to grow and figure it out. You do that very often by figuring it out first, you and yourself. We've all started with accountability. First and foremost is accountability for yourself. Where are you meeting your own expectations? And how are you finding the tools, like we discussed last week when Lily was talking about systems so beautifully and amazingly? We are going to figure out now, we are going to spend this week, and I want you to spend tonight already starting to think about, what do you want to hold yourself accountable for? I wrote this in the, you know, did I write this today? I can't even remember. You know, like, what do you need help with? What do you want to be most accountable for? You have to start with that. You have to understand the extent of accountability and whether you need compassion, support, a kick in the butt, a hug, a mirror held up to your face, or all of the above. We won't grow and learn without understanding the extent of the accountability. It depends on your honesty and openness, and that's what's so important about taking action and being engaged in the group. Lily, yes.
I want to add something in here because I think what you're saying is so powerful, and I want to just only back up because Ayala and I have been amazing accountability partners for like 4 years now, and we did not start out knowing ourselves. We started out with a commitment to each other that we were gonna do this, and we were gonna do it whether the other person was going to continue to do it or they weren't going to continue to do it, and we had no idea what we were getting into. And part of our relationship growing in terms of being accountable and being honest and knowing ourselves meant that we did a lot of personal development together. We have read, I don't know, hundreds of books and lectures and shared podcasts, and through discussing those things, really learned so much about ourselves and each other that now when we communicate, we are much more sensitive to how the other person likes to be spoken to and how that person gets and receives love, because we didn't even know that about ourselves always when we started.
On that note, first of all, you also still, even after 4 years, we don't always get it right. But you are open and honest with each other, where Lil would say to me, that's not what I needed to hear. And I'm like, oh, shoot. You know, I'll say, I'm quiet now, but I'm okay. I don't need to talk about it. Those
Right.
kind of things.
And
You
you
don't
knowing
always,
that she doesn't need to talk about this thing that's going on that's really bothering her, but talking about it's not helpful right now.
right. But on that note, in terms of getting to know yourself and understanding other people, if you have never read the book, The 5 Love Languages, we should totally do a group thing, Lily. I'm just saying,
Yes.
let's put this out there between us
We've
coaches.
done
Okay?
it before and we should do it again.
Yes. If you have not read the 5 love languages, if you don't know the book that I am talking about, go online to Amazon. If you're in Israel, go online to Book Depository. Don't do it right now because then you're not going to concentrate on the rest of the call. Do it right after. Okay, Lily, you'll put it in the chat. Okay, the 5 love languages. It was life transforming for me. I'd love to hear if it is for you. Also, in terms of every relationship that I have, between friends, between family, and between myself, it really helped me learn about myself too, and things and ways that I need certain things. So this is just, again, accountability is such a huge subject, and there is a difference between accountability and an accountability partner. So I would like to just read out loud Jude's question because it seems pretty basic, but I think there are so many ways to answer it. So I'd love to open it up also to the other coaches because Jude just came right out and said, can you give an example of how an accountability partnership works? And short answer is, it works differently for everybody. So then how do you know?
Emma and Hendy offered to talk about their relationship also as accountability partners.
Oh, so we'd love to hear from that, how that works for you just in one moment, because I want to be able to say the way it first starts working is you being open to it working. That is first and foremost. Not, I got this, I can do it on my own. You've heard us all say this over and over before. You do not get gold stars, extra points, and lose any more weight by trying to do this alone. If you've all learned anything by being here, it's that we've all tried 1,000 things. One of the missing links is not just the fact that Alana was able to put together 2B Mindset as a nutrition program and help us learn about our mindset, but the idea of support and community, that you're not meant to do this alone. So accountability partnership starts with being open to realizing you're not meant to do this alone. You don't have to do this alone, okay? You care, we care, everybody here cares. This is a judgment-free zone. That does not mean that nobody's never gonna judge. It's human nature. People judge, people have questions, people ask, people wonder, people do things differently, but just on that same note, we learn from each other. You get to see so many different ways of doing things. So that is how you start, by first being open to the possibility. The being open to the possibility that an accountability partner can be somebody that you know. I'm sure everybody has at least one person in this group that they knew from beforehand, very possibly. It can also, Dafka, be somebody you do not know, okay? You have to figure out by finding some kind of other connection besides I know them, I don't know them. You know, it could be somebody, wow, we both had a baby in the last X amounts of months. Right now, this will help. Or, you know what, this person doesn't have little kids and I do, so I think they'll have a very different perspective from me because I'm so stuck in where I am right now. You have to be open to all possibilities, but you have to put yourself out there and understand that so many different things can work.
I'll just say 3 things that I think are critical to a successful accountability partnership. Number 1, do not get offended. If you get offended, it is an invitation to get curious and know that your partner is only there to help you. You chose to have an accountability partner. So you can say, hey, okay, I'm not hearing the message because I'm really sensitive on this. Can you say it again? Can you say it this way? And realize that especially if they say something you don't want to hear, it's probably the exact thing you needed to hear. That doesn't mean that every single time you have an accountability partner, the first time's the charm. Sometimes you might have to try on a few people, but first of all, never take it personally. Literally, the person is giving their time for free to help you, and it's coming from a place of love. Number 2, try to be sensitive to the other person. If you're going to give any constructive criticism, always try to think about How can I compliment more than I criticize? Alana talks about this a lot. And if you watch her go over people's trackers in any of the mindset videos, you'll see she's always complimenting more than she's criticizing. Super important. And lastly, be open to choosing people who have either in the same weight range as you or have the same amount of weight to lose as you. It's really helpful to have a small element of competition. Not competition in that you're really competitive, but when you see somebody else losing weight and they're in your weight range, it really spurs you on. If you see somebody lifting weights and they're lifting in the same range as you, and then they're getting in 3 more reps, it really feels doable to do it too. And that's what you want to look for. You want to look for somebody who's, I remember when Ayala and I first started, it was Saturday night workouts. Neither of us wanted to work out Saturday nights. And so we would almost race to see who would do it first to make the other person do the Saturday night workout. Because if one of us did it, the other person had to do it to be accountable. And we used to race to see who would send the other person their tracker first, like to make the other person do it versus being the person who had to do it. And you want to
Healthy,
that kind
healthy
of
competition, not in a bad way. But Lily, this brings into, somebody wrote to me, okay, this is going to be an anonymous question, but I think it's so important on the subject of accountability partners, because we hear it a lot. Just as important as finding an accountability partner that works and making it successful is also being able to figure out when it's not working, okay? So a question that I got that I'd love to post and see even what some of the other coaches have to answer about this is, what would you suggest to do if, let's say, you and your accountability partner are both struggling? Like very often we both say we're both stuck, or we're struggling through this process and what we're doing, we're not finding that ongoing, consistent, success. Should you take a break? Should you find somebody else? Should you turn inwards? What would you suggest?
Accountability partnership isn't working when you're not making each other do the behaviors. It's not about, are you not losing weight? I would say, are you not talking and saying, let's watch this video together. Let's commit to watch this video. Let's commit to watch this podcast. Let's commit to both be dinner and done. If you're just fetching partners, it's not working, get out. If it's you're both struggling, and hold on to each other, like keep, one person may drown, but 2 people can float. And be successful, but only if you look at it as, okay, we're both struggling, so we both want to keep checking in and making sure we're 3 liters by 3 p.m. Like, it has to be constructive. If you're just fetching and sharing trackers and nobody's like holding accountable, then you're just friends. That's great.
Right, friends are great, but also then be honest with each other. It's one of those things where, like, you both know, so it's not like you're saying something bad, but it's part of being accountability partners would be able to say to each other, okay, we're not where we want to be, either of us. Do we want to be doing this together? And again, this goes back to what Lily said, don't be offended. The goal is to be able to help each other and get and achieve our goals. That's what, right? We go back to the definition of an accountability partner, the person who helps another person keep a commitment. If you're just fetching to each other, you're not helping each other keep a commitment. You have to be able to say and be convinced that your commitment here is to get healthy. Your commitment here is either about weight loss or about fitness, but be clear. Okay, again, last week, guys, all our calls are connected. Clarity and systems. Okay, get clear on what you're commitment to. That's what you're committed to. Now, that does not mean we have to, Lily, maybe we can find the call that we once did that I led a call about competing commitments. Okay,
yes, that was a great.
You can be committed to your weight loss journey and your health journey, and at the same time feel like you're still struggling. It doesn't mean that you lost your commitment, but you need to find your way where that is going to win over. That is going to, win out. It's okay to want those other things and want the things that are hard for us, and even want the things that are making us, but we look back, when you call it a struggle, it means it's not really what you want. It means that your main commitment is the health and the weight loss journey. So we need to find the way, we need to find the person to help us get there.
And you have to be you have to be willing to be easily pleased. Guys, this is a life lesson, like especially with 2B mindset. If accountability partner, they're like, hey, I made this recipe, why don't you try it? And you're like, I hate eggs. Like, you're not being an accountability partner. An accountability partner says, oh, that's really interesting. I don't usually like eggs. Tell me about that. Why did that work for you? Maybe I should try it like this. I'd love to hear from Yoni. I don't know if Yoni's ever had an accountability partner versus a coach, and kind of maybe what the difference is, why it worked for you, why it does work for you, or a coach. And then I really want to hear from Seema and Hendy.
Seema and Hendy.
Okay, I have 30 seconds because I get to spend the rest of my evening hearing about puberty from my child's school. So clearly something I don't know about. So I have to jump off the call in a sec. Basically for me, my accountability partner was my coach. That's what worked for me. I do have certain, private clients that for them, that seems to be the trick for them also. I don't know if it's the type A personality. There are two parts of the type A personality. I think Ayelet and I are two parts of the type A personality. The one who's gonna go at it without a private coach, the one who went with it with a private coach. For me, I like not to call myself to the carpet. I like to force someone to call me to the carpet in specific areas. And again, that's where things are very specific. I don't like mixing for myself friendship in that way, and my journey. Now, this is where I think everybody is individualized about where their progress falls. I see that I can be a very good accountability partner for clients of mine, both as a coach and as a friend. I think the reverse, I needed someone who actually was further along in their journey for me to feel that push. So that may have worked if I found someone earlier on who was much further ahead in their journey. For me, Lily, you were at that place. So it worked in both regards. Some people want to find that same, dargah, that same level where you both are. So you're both at the same place in where you're trying to lose, or you both have the same amount, as you said.
Definition. When you're looking for an accountability partner, one of the things that made Ayala and I successful as accountability partners is that we were around the same weight, in the same range, looking to lose about the same amount of weight at that time, and
then it shifted. And then we found out we don't have the same body type. You were post baby, I was not. And we figured out that we're not even meant to be in the same, range or whatever. And we didn't start off as friends. We started off as people that were just doing this together. So I think that's a big part of what Yoni is saying. That's what I said before. It's not dafka that you need to be accountability partner with somebody that you know already. Maybe it'll be better for you if you don't. We only have 4 minutes left. I want to just
hear from Hendy and Seema.
From Hendy or Seema, whichever one of you guys can open up. How did you find each other, and how is it working for you?
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Hendy.
Hi, Seema. Who's going first?
I'll quickly say that if anything else, this call has shown me how grateful I am that I have Hendy. We didn't know each other from before. We met in the group, and we kind of figured out how it worked for us, which way to communicate, which was WhatsApp. And Hendy, you want to say something?
Yeah, I think first of all, we have been partners now for over a year. And when we realized it was a year, we were like so disbelieving. We were like, oh my gosh, a whole year. And it went from just being accountability partners that we decided to help each other along our food journey to being way more than that, because 2B Mindset teaches me one thing. And I think it's universal to people who join the program and who really get it. It's not about the food. It's about how you relate to the food based on what's going on in your life. And those cravings are usually stress-induced or tired-induced or whatever, like the different kinds of hunger that Lana speaks about. So from going to sharing just our food, we are sharing our day. And the format that we've used is WhatsApp voice notes. So we had one phone call in that year, where we spoke to each other on the phone. The rest of the time is just voice notes. And whenever we have a moment, we just like, check in with each other, which is so nice because I know that if I'm having a hard time, I can just leave Seema a voice note. And whenever she's going to be able to, she will listen and eventually respond. And I even mentioned it to Seema. I sometimes feel like I'm talking to like my Jiminy Cricket, like my conscience almost. It's like another person that I know gets it because they're on the same journey. And it's so nice to have that. And it's really, Seema was the third accountability partner I tried it with. The first two didn't work out. One was in a different time zone, and it really just, she's a great person, but it just didn't work out because we needed like, the ongoing day-to-day give and take. And the other person, I guess the format didn't work out. Our schedules were different, our life stages. So when we found each other, Seema and I, it was like, wow, this is amazing. And we have developed it into a friendship. And one when you don't feel weird, talking about food. Sometimes you feel like, oh, people think I'm so stupid, like crazy, whatever.
Which is also
And we have different
great.
coaches.
think,
So
right.
we actually benefit from that.
And you have different coaches.
Yeah, no, that's nice.
Which is why when people ask us, why is the group so big? Why don't we make separate groups for each of our people under each of the coaches? It's because you guys benefit from that cross.
Oh, totally.
I think one of the most important things that Hendy said, I just lost my train of thought in terms of what she was saying. That you have to be open to share, because it's not just about the food. It's not just about the tracker. It's understanding that there's so much more than that, and that's how you get through this, and that's how you get past it. And being in a place, I tell people when they tell me like, I'm not really a group person, or I don't really want to engage, and I get that a lot. And I answer people, you will get out as much as you put in, because we all know that when we are going through this in life, we have our family who love us and we love them, and our friends who are close to us, and our friendships that we have. But they may not want to hear what we're thinking about all the time now. And if we're here, we are thinking about this a lot. So these group of people and these women here that you see right now, they get it. So find that person who gets it.
And it's different.
We have less than a minute, so
with your coach. I know both of you guys are very interactive with us and take coaching differently than accountability partner. And one doesn't replace the other, and it doesn't replace the community. So we have less than a minute left. I just want to thank everybody for coming. I want to thank Ayala and everybody, like, write in the chat when we take the picture of the call. We'll take a picture, quick. Everyone smiled and leave a comment and write something about yourself. Write what you're willing to give and what you're willing to look for, what time zone you're in, your stage of life in the text.